Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels, where I do my best to bring you videos that are relevant and packed with helpful information, and this video is no exception. Earlier in the week, I promised you that I was going to be starting a series this week on how to save money on some of your biggest expenses in van life. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, starting with this video. I'm going to address in this video the number one money-sucking item in van life. And actually, it's an item that has been going through the roof in cost for everyone, whether you're in van life or in a sticks and bricks residence. So come on and listen to some helpful tips and let me know in the comments if you agree, and if you have some suggestions, I would love to hear them. And do stay tuned to the end for what I think is probably the most valuable tip for those who are new to van life. Well, without any further delay, I am going to tell you what the single most expensive item in van life is. Drum roll, da 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 da. It is fuel. Many of you probably already know that. That is the single most expensive thing I have found in the 5 years I've been traveling in my van across the country, interviewing people, camping, and traveling almost 100,000 miles. My single largest expense, and that of most people that I speak to, is gasoline. Now, I'm going to refer to my notes. Before I get into the tips, I just want to give you some information to let you know how much it's gone up and why it's such an impact. In 2020, the average price of gasoline in the United States was $2.17. I know it's hard to believe that, isn't it? In just 3 years, the average price is now $3.25. That's an increase of more than 50%, or approximately 50%. Now, let me ask you, how many of you have had raises of 50% on your jobs? I don't know of anyone who has. I don't know most of, but many of the people that I meet in van life are living on Social Security. That is their only source of income. Whether it's regular Social Security Disability, or SSI, that is the primary source for so many of the people I meet on the road as nomads, especially older solo females. Now, let me just give you some information to let you know the impact the cost of gas has had on this particular population. In 2020, the Social Security COLA, or cost of living adjustment, was 1.3%. 1.3%. In 2021, it was 5.9%. Now, they did a whopping 8.7% in 2022, and then in 2023, it came back down to 3.2%. So over the last 4 years, from 2020 through 2023, the increase in Social Security cost of living adjustment has been 19.1%. Over the same period, the increase in gas, as I said earlier, has been 50%. So you've got a 50% increase in the highest expense that people on the road have, and a 19% increase in income. Well, obviously, clearly, that's going to pose some problems. And that's why I'm going to share with you these tips. One of the biggest ways that I save money on the road is by paying less for gas. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. You want to save money and you have to have gasoline, pay less for it. The single best tool I have found to help me find less expensive gas when I'm traveling across country and even here at home is a free app called Gas Buddy, and I use it all the time. This is what the app looks like on the internet, and it will have different categories. One of them will say find gas, and what it will do is it will show you the least expensive, say for instance here $4.35, and then it'll show you the most expensive. It will show you the spread between the least expensive and the most expensive, which I think it was 44 cents. And how you find the gas stations, you can put in the city, you can put in your location, you can put in the zip code. Now, I had an occasion when I was on, I forget whether it was Interstate 8 or Interstate 10, and all the gas that I was finding along the side of the road as I was passing by through towns was really high. So I pulled over. I'd forgotten temporarily about Gas Buddy, so I pulled over, put in Gas Buddy, and there was a station that was right next to me, and it had another station that was a mile away. You couldn't see it from the highway, but it was $1 less per gallon. Now, I had gotten down to just over a quarter of a tank, which I rarely allow myself to get that low, but that saved me about $15 on that fill up. Well, let's say, I'm just throwing a random number out here. Let's say you fill up 100 times a year. That's $1,500. Now, I have to admit, typically I don't save $1 a gallon, although I frequently have. Usually it's more like about maybe from, I'd say anywhere from 20 to 60 cents per gallon. But at least in California, because gas is so expensive here. But even if you're only saving, and I say only, 30 cents per gallon, that's significant if you're doing a lot of traveling. So I would highly recommend that you use Gas Buddy. Before I go on to the next tip, I wanted to throw this little tidbit out to you. During my research for this video, I came across an article, and it said the least expensive day of the week to buy gas is on a Monday, and the most expensive day of the week to buy gas is on a Friday. Something about a report of some sort that comes out on Wednesdays, which impacts the price of gas, and Friday is when it's reflected. So I haven't tested this or checked it out for myself, but if you know anything about this, and if you found that to be the case, can you let me know in the comments? The second way to save on gas, and I know you've probably heard this before, and I have too, but I didn't realize how significant it was, and that is by reducing your speed. If you reduce your speed by simply 5 to 10 miles per hour, you will save 7 to 10% on your gas. That's huge. Let's say you spend, $400 a month on gas traveling. That's $40, up to $40 per month. That's $480 a year. That's almost $500. That's huge. For some people, that's a whole set of tires. That is such a simple thing to do, and it doesn't cost you a penny. Just reduce by 5 to 10 miles per gallon. The third way to save money on gas and therefore decrease your fuel cost is not to have things on your roof. I didn't realize this, but I'm going to refer to my notes briefly. But placing things on your roof decreases your fuel economy. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. By up to 8% in the city and up to 25% on the highway, because putting it inside your vehicle or in your trunk reduces the drag. So putting it on your roof, I already have, max fans on my roof and a solar panel, so I can't do anything about that. It sounds like perhaps putting a cargo container or rack on the back might be a better option than putting it on the roof. For those of you who know something about this, if you want to add your comments in the comment section, I'd love to hear from you about this. I think we're at number 4. That would be weight. For those of you who are currently building out a rig, you probably are thinking, well, I don't want to have a lot of weight because, I've got to keep within the weight capacity for my vehicle. But that's not the only reason to be concerned about weight. According to my research, for every extra 100 pounds that you carry, it increases your gas costs by up to 3 cents per gallon. And like I said, those were figures based on older records, like 20 or 21. So probably now extra 100 pounds in weight in your vehicle is increasing your gas or your fuel costs by probably, I would guess, about at least 5 cents per gallon. And if you're in California, probably even more than that. So you might look at, if you're doing the build out for your walls, thinner materials, and on your floors, so it really is going to increase the overall cost of your travel for the rest of the time you have that vehicle. So carrying too much weight is costing you money. So if you have a lot of extra stuff in your vehicle, like extra chairs that you don't need, extra tables, all this, this, excuse my language, but all this crap we carry around that we really don't need, chuck it, because it's costing you money. The fifth thing is letting your engine idle. From the research that I did, it is recommended if you're going to be parked for more than 10 seconds or stopped for more than 10 seconds to turn off your engine. It cost you up to, I think it was 1/4 of a gallon per half an hour of idling. And it could be even more depending on the size of your engine and if you're using your air conditioning and other things. Did you know that the heated seats use fuel? I didn't know that. And the fan in your heater consumes fuel. All these things, I didn't know they consumed fuel. Oh my goodness. I knew the air conditioner did. But again, if you're going to be idling for more than 10 seconds, don't have your engine running if you're going to be stopped for more than 10 seconds. I'm really guilty of this because I'll be in line at Costco. If it's a long line at Costco, I'm there with my engine running. Sometimes I'll turn it off if it's really, really long line. But often I just leave it on, especially if it's really hot, and leave my air conditioning going. I won't be doing that anymore. I can guarantee you after reading this. And hopefully you won't either. Number 6, did you know that your car performs worse in cold weather temperatures? I didn't know this. According to my research, your gas mileage is 15% lower at 20 degrees Fahrenheit than it is at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And it can drop even more, as much as 24% less fuel efficient on short trips of, say, 3 or 4 miles in cold weather. How they explained the use of more gas on shorter trips in cold weather is that it takes longer in cold weather for your engine to reach its most fuel efficient temperature. So if you're taking shorter trips, it never really gets up to an efficient temperature and it's consuming more gas. Also, another thing that they said is that in cold air, the cold air is denser and increases the drag. All these things, I never knew this. And that your engine and transmission friction increases in cold temperature due to the cold engine oil and other dry fluids. So, I guess the key there is if you're going to be in cold weather, don't take a whole lot of short trips because you're going to consume a lot more gas. My last 2 tips I think will probably help those who are new to van life the most, because I'm guessing that those nomads who've been doing this for a while have figured this out. And number 1 is travel more slowly. I'm not talking about how fast you go per hour. I'm talking about the distance that you go in a month. Let's say, for instance, you go 1,000 miles in a month. If you are getting 15 miles per gallon, you would need 66.6 or something like that gallons. At $3.25, you're going to be spending $216 a month. If you cut that in half and just go half that distance, you're only going to be spending $108. If you're in California, where gas right now, the average price for regular is $4.85, you'd be spending $3.23 a month. And if you went half the distance, you're going to be spending $161. The things that you want to visit, the places you want to go, they're going to be there. But if you go at a slower pace, stay somewhere for a week, maybe even 2 weeks, you're going to spend considerably less per month, and your budget is really going to look a lot better. The other thing I would say is, before you travel places, check and find out what the cost per gallon of gas is there. I've spoken with some people who came to California because they wanted to go see the beach, they wanted to see this, they wanted to see that. They got here, and after they had driven around for about a week, they'd completely blown their budget because they had no idea how much gas was here per gallon. So check the locations that you're going to in advance and see what the price is per gallon. You may not be able to afford to go there right now, or you may have to plan for a longer amount of time and save up for longer to go on those trips. But don't let gasoline bust your budget or ruin your van life or your life on the road. Just using these tips and some practical, sensible guidelines can make it so much better. If this has been helpful to you or useful, could you let me know? Hit a like button, or hit that like button, and add a comment, let me know, and share this out to as many people as you can, because based on how many views this video gets will determine if I go ahead and continue in this series. If it doesn't get that many views, it means, it's probably not that helpful to you. But if it gets a lot of views, I will know that it has been helpful, and I'll go on to the second most costly item in van life and how to save money in that. May your journeys be filled with joy and blessing, and may you also save money on the way. See you next time.